welcome fellow digital soldiers to True Reporting. It is December 26th. I trust you had a great Christmas. On today's podcast, we will be covering an article, a Benjamin Fulford full report article entitled Reboot Over the Holidays. This has a lot to do with the financial reset, and it is filled with great information. But before we get into this article, would you please go ahead and click the blue bell to get notifications so when I post, you'll be the first to know. Also, please follow me on Twitter at True Reporting, and don't forget to leave a like. The more likes that this video receives, the more chances it is recommended to other people, thus more eyes on the truth. With that being said, my friends, let's hop into it. This is True Reporting. So on this article, it is entitled Reboot Over the Holidays. And it says here, many signs and confirmations from highly placed sources indicate that a reboot of Western civilization is being planned for 2019. Now, a lot of people don't like the word sources, but because of such high intel this gentleman is talking about, he probably has to use sources, the word sources, because when the mainstream media uses sources, that I believe is fake, because they're not talking to anybody high up. They're basically just talking, making up things, right? And we all know that. We know that the mainstream media is the biggest threat to humanity because it keeps us divided and asleep. But anyways, I digress. The shutdown of the U.S. government over the holidays, for example, has nothing to do with building a wall and everything to do with a financial reboot and upcoming military tribunals. However, what is coming is about much more than just rounding up the criminals who hijacked and bankrupted the United States government. It is about fixing the problems besetting monotheism. Since today is December 24th, Christmas Eve, it is a good time to remind people of the historical truth behind this holiday. The fact is that nobody knows when Jesus Christ was born. So the early Christian church hijacked the old solar New Year holiday and replaced the sun with Jesus. Here's the thing. The sun sets at its most northern point on December 21st, winter solstice. For 3 days afterward, it appears to set at the same place, and then on December 25th, it starts setting further south, marking the birth of the solar new year. Thus, the Christian church needs to confess and tell people the truth about Christmas without any way denying the wonderful teachings of Jesus Christ and Christianity. The Jews, for their part, need to stop celebrating the xenophobic Hanukkah and realize that it is perfectly kosher to celebrate the solar new year, unless they somehow think the Creator did not make the sun. Anyway, Merry Christmas to the Christians and Muslims, and Merry Sunmas to everybody else. These issues, together with discussion of updating the calendars to bring them back into line with the movement of the heavens on which they are based, are going to be part of a broad public discourse in the new year. That is because at the highest levels of the world power, a decision has been made to go ahead and rebuild the temple in Jerusalem and turn that city into the international free zone. This is why 2019 is likely to be the year for the history books. In preparation for these upcoming historical changes, U.S. troops are being withdrawn from various conflict zones in order to pave way for world peace, the CIA sources say. Pentagon sources agree, adding that the U.S. President Donald Trump is pulling out of Syria, Afghanistan, Yemen, and the Ukraine to terminate the deep state and the Zionists, since the global currency reset requires peace and cessation of hostilities. European royal family sources concur that preparations are underway for a reboot of the global financial system. The current U.S. dollar, the euro, and Japanese yen-based system is bankrupt and dysfunctional. These and other sources agree. I agree as well. This is especially true of the United States, which has been bankrupt for quite some time now, the sources say. That is why this current U.S. government shutdown is going to lead to some sort of Chapter 11 reorganization of the U.S. government. They have to do this, a reset, a complete rebuild of everything. And we see here the European royals, for example, acknowledge that the historical bonds, farm claims, and other claims against the U.S. government must be paid, yet cannot be paid without bankrupting the system. However, discussions with the European royals and the P2 Freemasons who control the Vatican make it clear that fundamental decisions have not been made without the reboot about what the reboot will resemble. It is clear, though, that the current system is being shut down. This can be seen not just in the U.S. government shutdown, but also in the fact that no corporate junk bonds were issued in December and that U.S. stock markets fell by the most since the Lehman shock of 2008. One thing they have agreed upon, though, is that a future planning agency will be established with a multi-trillion-dollar budget. The legal and financial frameworks for this organization are being negotiated behind the scenes, according to royal family and P2 Freemason sources. These people have been around for a very, very long time and are high up in the hierarchy status. So we can continue on. Another thing that has been agreed upon at the highest level, including with Asian secret societies, is that criminality will be rooted out of the system, especially in the U.S. On that front, Pentagon sources say the number of sealed indictments in the U.S. has reached the 70,000 mark. 70,000 indictments. Usually per year there's about 3,000. 2 huge prison barges are being sent to Guantanamo Bay from New York and California to accommodate all the criminals who are being rounded up. I will post a video of that, of my own podcast covering the giant prison barge, and it's very interesting. It's been around since 1992, and it's never been covered until now, which I find pretty intriguing, but I'll leave that video at the end of this one. A further sign of what is coming can be seen in the fact that Trump sent notice to House Speaker Paul Ryan that the National Emergency Executive Order 13818 from December 20th, 2017 has been extended for 1 year, blocking property and seizing assets of persons involved in serious human rights abuse or corruption, the sources note. The criminal in charge in Israel and Saudi Arabia are also going to face justice, promise Russian FSB sources. Towards that end, the Russian government has provided detailed and extensive evidence that the so-called White Helmets were a criminal organization that was stealing organs, faking sarin gas attacks, and looting historical treasures. So if you remember all the attacks in Syria, you would see these people coming in. They would be acting as if they were part of a, I don't know, like a Red Cross type organization. They all had white helmets on, but they were actually there doing the damage. So that means that actor George Clooney will be one of many celebrities who is headed for Guantanamo Bay. Mass murdering Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Mohammed bin Skin them alive, Salman, are other criminals who will be receiving justice, say CIA, Pentagon, and FSB sources. Also stated for justice and other criminal members of the Biden, Pence, Clinton, Bush, Rockefeller, Rothschild, DuPont, Iwasaki, and other families who thought they were too rich to ever go to prison, the sources say. So a lot of people going to prison, this guy says. Also, the Pentagon sources say the sentencing of former Defense Intelligence Agency Director General Mike Flynn has been delayed until March 13, 2019, during which time the FISA declassification, military tribunals, and other truth bombs will be dropped. To make sure the removal of high-level criminals proceeds without a hitch, the Pentagon sources say Trump may appoint another Supreme Court justice to solidify a real conservative majority as liberal hag U.S. President Donald Trump hater Ruth Bader Ginsburg succumbs to cancer. This is even more crucial than Justice Brett Kavanaugh because Chief Justice John Roberts has been blackmailed to swing with liberals, and he too may be forced out. Yeah, look into John Roberts. Definitely was probably his family was threatened. A message to Justice Ginsburg: your goals, such as equal rights for women and minorities, are now part of a social fabric. So please bow out with grace. The other thing is to note that in December, Marine General John Kelly and James Mattis announced their resignation as White House Chief of Staff and Defense Secretary, respectively. We also saw the announcement that Army Chief General Mark Milley was named as the next chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff to succeed succeed Marine General Joseph Dunford. The replacement of all three Marines at the top of the U.S. power hierarchy is simply because they have accomplished their goal of being the tip of the spear, Pentagon sources say. Now that a beachhead has been established in Washington, the U.S. Navy and Army will take care of the bigger organizational and rebuilding issues that will come up now, the sources say. Also, one Pentagon sources said that Mattis and Kelly want to leave the administration before the U.S. government is formally bankrupt. They will instead concentrate on supervising the military tribunals. I've heard a lot of people say that. This gentleman agrees, and I concur as well. Once the Washington establishment is cleaned up and the criminals receive justice, both are considering running for public office in 2020, the source says. It is also good to hear that Robert David Steele has been promoted for consideration as the new Defense Secretary by Gordon Duff, editor-in-chief of Veterans Today, a man who knows better than most that virtually all veterans abhor war and despise those who seek to wage war for profit. It is interesting that even though Duff is viscerally opposed to Trump and Steele is a Trump supporter, Duff still wants Steele to have a job of the Trump administration defense secretary. Maybe. There are serious discussions on implementing Steele's open source everything, which he does stand by. Ideas in an experimental zone, maybe Manchuria, has one route to providing secret military high-tech to the general population in a responsible manner. Steele, when asked about his nomination, promised that if selected, he would not only allow the release of military secret technology, which I've heard him say, but also would do his best to implement the long-awaited and much-discussed disclosure of the secret space program. We still do not know the exact timing when all these changes will take place. We have been promised military tribunals in January, but the global currency reset is still unknown. However, there are two hints that May could be the time. First, the new Japanese emperor will assume the throne then. As the oldest continuing royal family on earth, the Japanese royals are said by other royals to be the ones who will place the official seal that inaugurates the new financial system. The other, more minor hint is that after Prime Minister of Belgium resigned last week, the King of Belgium asked him to stay until May, the end. So in May could be the financial reset. We do not know. I found this to be very informative. And again, I am not a huge Robert David Steele fan. I know a lot of people say he is corrupt, but I have heard him say that if placed into a Trump administration, that he would push as hard as he can for declassification of the secret space program and also high military grade programs that would benefit humanity, technologies rather. So guys, if you found this informative and you enjoyed it, please go ahead and subscribe to my channel. And don't forget to leave a like. You can also follow me on Twitter @TrueReporting. And if you would care to donate to the podcast and to the channel, you can go to my PayPal or to my Patreon in the description box below. Guys, expect many more podcasts throughout the day and tomorrow. And always look out for the live call-in shows. I usually post on YouTube and also on Twitter when I'm going to do a call-in show. It's a lot of fun. It is a very good experience. So with that being said, my friends, please be kind to one another, love one another, and we will talk to you very soon. Goodbye.